Skull! Welcome, everybody. This is Greg Buck Dietzen, aka the Buckster, and this is the Buck Stops here. And this is Happy Divisional Playoff Day. That's right. Minnesota Vikings have their first home playoff game in the new stadium, and I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to watch the game today. I have a few things going on as of right now, so I might miss the first quarter, but hey, I'm going to be there, and we're going to watch the game and root our team on. Got a lot in store for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble, just some pre-Royal Rumble preview. We got a couple more weeks before it hits full bore. Here, let me demask a second here and get a little more normal looking, as normal as I can be, anyways. Again, I'm your host, the Buckster, here on the Buck Stops here. Kind of tweaked my setup a little bit here. We've got my Adrian Peterson, Robert Smith, Chris Carter jerseys off to the side. I know you can see Carter. Behind me, I've got my quarterbacks, Favre and Culpepper and Bradford and Teddy. And, of course, the all-time great Vikings receiver, Randy Moss, all behind me as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you really like my videos, hit like. If you don't like my videos, tell me what I can do to get better. I have fun doing this. I do talk a lot of Vikings and a lot of wrestling, but as time goes on, I'm going to try and make this podcast a weekly thing on Sunday morning. I'm going to talk some baseball. In a week or so, I'm going to be talking some ABL baseball, which is the baseball league I'm in, based out of Binghamton, New York, put together mainly by gentleman Scott the Commish Allen, who lives up in Binghamton. We'll talk about the teams involved. We'll talk about the draft, maybe the Orlando Sharks draft strategy. Probably not. Not that y'all don't know how we draft. So I really appreciate everybody watching. For our lineup today, like I said, we're going to have some Royal Rumble, and that's for my wrestling fans. We're going to start off with that. I know I have a few people that like to watch my show, and they like to get the wrestling done. They might not be as interested in football. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, but it is what it is. And then we're going to talk about Saturday games. We're going to do a little Steelers-Jags preview, and then we're probably going to do a little bit of the Vikings preview. So talk a little bit about Vikings heading forward as well. So let's hit things off. Let's talk some Royal Rumble WWE. You can catch the Royal Rumble on the WWE Network. And if you don't have the network, go to WWE.com and subscribe today. Your first month is free. That means you get one of the biggest matches ever, one of the biggest pay-per-views that they run for over 30 years now, the Royal Rumble, absolutely free. I know. I remember paying for this. I was watching some of the old Royal Rumbles on the WWE Network last couple of days. We had some snow and ice in Memphis, and so the whole city shuts down, And I remember watching these, and I remember paying like $49, $59, $69 for these. $10 a month. It's $120 a year. You get all their pay-per-views. You get to watch all the old pay-per-views that have gone through, the old Royal Rumbles, the old WrestleManias, the latest brand new one, Great Balls of Fire, that they did last year. You can watch, exclusives like Table for Three. They've got the road trip. They've got the WWE camp. All these are included in your $10 a month subscription to the WWE Network and all the pay-per-views. Sometimes there's 2 a month, and it'll be free for your first 30 days. So I would go check it out now. Talking about the Royal Rumble, the current participants in the men's Royal Rumble, and we're going to just talk the Royal Rumble matches today. Next week, I'll get more into the other matches that are kind of side. I just want to give you a rundown on what I think of the Royal Rumble and how they're going to go. I'd really like you guys to hear my thoughts, which is why I do this, is strictly so that y'all can hear what I have to think, what I have to say. You don't have to like it. You can agree. You can disagree. I just enjoy doing this. So we know that Cena, Finn Balor, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, Elias, Baron Corbin, Woken Matt Hardy, Samoa Joe, Bray Wyatt, and Rusev Day, yes, that includes Aiden English, have all said they're going to be in the Royal Rumble. So that's going to make it somewhat exciting. We also have the Women's Royal Rumble, and we'll get into that in a couple minutes. Here's a few interesting things I found about the Royal Rumble watching the matches. There have been 3 back-to-back winners, and that means they've won one year and then the next year. The first one was Hulk Hogan. course, how could you not have him win it back in the day? He was the guy, right? Heartbreak Kid did it 95, 96. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin also did it. A little thing there is Hogan, HBK, which is Shawn Michaels, Cena, Orton, Triple H, and Batista have all won 2 Royal Rumbles. Stone Cold has won 3. He's the only one to have won 3. So it brings up some interesting information. Surprise entrance, predictions, eliminations, stuff like that. As of last year's Royal Rumble, the most eliminations ever. Well, let's go to most appearances because I think that's kind of important. Kane has had the most. He's been in 21 Royal Rumbles. Shawn Michaels has been in 18. The Undertaker in 18. And the Big Show has been in 17. Those are pretty good numbers. That means these guys have been around for a long time, at least 21 years, right? Because they had to have been in 21 Royal Rumbles. The most total eliminations is, of course, Kane. Well, he's been in the most, so he's got to average 2. According to this, he's got 42 total eliminations, so that's 2 per match. And I know he eliminates a lot more than that. Shawn Michaels is number 2, tied with The Undertaker. They both have 39 total eliminations. So we're going to jump to 3 because 2 is a tie. Stone Cold Steve Austin with 36. Number 4, the legendary Triple H with 33. And number 5, and he's only been in 3 Royal Rumbles that I can recall, Roman Reigns with 28. 28, I believe, is the number. That might be 26. I got chicken scratch for writing, so I really can't see that. Up until recently, the most eliminations in one Rumble was Kane, and he had 11. HBK's had 8, Stone Cold's had 8, Hogan's had 10 in just one Royal Rumble match. But recently, Roman Reigns broke that record, and he's got 12 in one Royal Rumble match. He eliminated 12 guys out of the 30 by himself. That is almost half the field by one guy. It's pretty impressive. Now, if Braun Strowman makes the Rumble, and we'll talk about that next week, he could kind of be one of my predictions to get in there and win it, depending on how his match goes and depending on where they line up the matches. The longest amount of time ever in a Rumble is Chris Jericho. His accumulative time is 4 hours and 56 minutes. The longest single time is Chris Benoit. Oh, wait, he doesn't exist. Chris Benoit, sorry. It's a touchy subject. Chris Benoit, 1 hour, 1 minute, and 34 seconds. Bob Backlund's probably the recognized one by WWE at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 10 seconds. And Triple H is 1 hour and 16 seconds. And then Ric Flair was right behind him. The most common number to win is number 27. So watch 27 and see where that lines up. And these are just facts I got off of Wikipedia. As I was going through the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, 3 of those were at number 27. WrestleMania 2 when Big John Studd won, he was number 27 coming in. Yokozuna in 93. And that was actually for the first WrestleMania title shot ever. And 92 was the first. They said this never happened, but Ric Flair came in at number 3 in 1992, his first year in WWE. And he won the Royal Rumble and won the WWF title at the time. They said a few years ago when they did it and Triple H won it, that was the first time they ever did that. But if you go back to history, it shows Ric Flair won it back in 1992, and he came in at number 3. And in 1995, an interesting thing happened. HBK and the British Bulldog went in as 1 and 2, and they were the last 2 men standing, and HBK ended up winning that. In 1994, controversy in the WWE. Who would have thought, right? You have Lex Luger, who came in at number 23, and Bret Hart, who came in at number 27, injured, bad knee, could barely walk, and they tied. They didn't have cameras all the way to the side. The referees weren't on the side. They went out, and so they were co-winners of that Royal Rumble. And that's about as far as I've got watching them. It's fun rewatching these and reliving them and seeing what's going on, though. And you can do that again on the WWE Network. So winning from number one was the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon, but we won't go there. Chris Benoit, and then Rey Mysterio. So Heartbreak Kid, Rey Mysterio both won it from the number one position. Being that the most wins are Stone Cold at 3, Hogan's done wrestling. Unless they do something completely crazy and put him in the Rumble, which I don't see happening. 2 or 3 years ago, I could have seen it. HBK, maybe to get that third win to get up with Stone Cold, but he's already in the Hall of Fame. So what does he need to, prove anything else? You got Triple H, Batista, Cena, and Orton. Those 4 are the 4 names to pay attention to because they could all potentially be in this Rumble and they could all potentially win this Rumble. I want to talk about Kane. I said we'd talk about Braun Strowman later, but Kane seems to be Mr. Royal Rumble. I mean, Shawn Michaels has Mr. WrestleMania, even though The Undertaker's the guy you want to beat to be, big, but that's what he's been dubbed. He could also be dubbed Mr. Royal Rumble Mr. Pay-Per-View for all that matters, because Shawn Michaels really did a lot as you go back and watch. It was key in a lot of things in the WWE as it progressed to where it is today. But if they do the Universal Championship match with Kane, Braun Strowman, and Brock Lesnar before the Royal Rumble, I could see Kane losing, either getting pinned by Brock or maybe Brock pinning. Brock could pin Strowman. Somehow, Brock's going to retain, and I could see Strowman and Kane entering the Royal Rumble, or maybe only one of them. But here's the thing with Kane. He's got the most eliminations altogether. He's got the second most in one match. He's been in the most Royal Rumbles, but he's never won a Royal Rumble. He's soon to be mayor of, I think it's Knox County. I'm not out near Knoxville. He's running for it. I'm not assuming he's gonna win, but he's been in the politics for a while now. So wouldn't it be great to put Kane in, let him win the Royal Rumble, and have his last hurrah at WrestleMania for a title? Doesn't have to win it. Here's the other possibility. If Lesnar's going to disappear off into MMA again, and if he does, then he needs to not come back. I mean, make up your mind. You're starting to remind me of Brett Favre. I love you, Favre. I'm going to retire. Nah, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to retire. Nah, I'm going to stick around. Well, Lesnar's doing that. I'm an MMA. No, I'm in a WWE. I'm an MMA. No, I'm in a WWE. So just make up your mind. But if you go. It's okay. I mean, you're going to go down as a legend in WWE. You're tough to beat. You're a monster in the ring, the beast incarnate. So your legacy will live on. That being said, if those rumors are true, Braun Strowman wins the belt by pinning Kane. Kane enters the Royal Rumble, eliminates 15 guys, wins his first one, been in the most, goes to WrestleMania for a shot at Braun Strowman's title. Win or lose, probably have him lose controversial in a great match to tear the place up. Yay for everyone. End of story. Braun Strowman ends up holding the title. They both get their WrestleMania moment. Kane gets his Royal Rumble win. And there you go. That would be a great scenario to play off of. I think it would sell tickets. I think it would sell us watching the shows. And if you have any comments, you can always catch me on Twitter at Buck Tbsh for the Buck Stops Here. So feel free to contact me and let me know if you think that would work, if that'd be a great idea, or if you think it's completely out of this world and stupid. Roman Reigns is the guy. He's the next Cena. He's going to get his shot. He's going to have his WrestleMania moments. I just don't see Roman Brock at WrestleMania. They tried it and they didn't let it go through. They had, Seth Rollins come in when he was a heel, and I get all that. He doesn't need to do it this year. He doesn't need to do it against Brock. I think Braun Strowman would be a better sell right now. They're both younger. They're both monsters. Again, Lesnar's getting to the point where he needs to do something else. He could really retire and nobody would think twice about it. Let's talk about some surprise entrants, though. Surprise entrants for the WWE. Now, we've named a few people that are already in it. You could see Kane or Strowman go in it. You could see The Miz go in it if he loses to Reigns, or Reigns go in it if he loses to The Miz. There's a lot of different things we could set up, but we're not talking that. We're talking people you wouldn't expect. Let's talk NXT. Aleister Black. I think he's a pretty good sized guy. He's very athletic. He's really good in the ring. He's one of the best, in my opinion, watching NXT in the ring. I think he would be a good guy to put into the Royal Rumble. Drew McIntyre, depending on how healthy he is, if he's really injured or if it's just a storyline to move the belt away and get him back into WWE, he's ready to step back up and show what he can do. And again, the NXT big time doesn't always translate. Bo Dallas was an NXT champ. He held the belt for like the second longest amount of time. What's he done in WWE? He's part of the Miz Taraj, okay? So it doesn't always translate to the fans following you in the big time when you're coming from the training time. And a guy I think would be very impressive and shock the heck out of everybody in the Royal Rumble is a guy named Lars Sullivan. He's about 6'2" or 6'3", but he is built like a Braun Strowman, just not as tall. Beefy monster dude with the attitude, got the jaw of he kind of looks like a steroid Bill Cowher. He's just got that jawline. I think this guy would be great to enter into the Royal Rumble. You want to talk a couple legends coming in and joining it? Chris Jericho got quite a few Royal Rumbles under his belt. Just to have him in there. CM Punk. There's a potential return to the WWE. Would he ever come back because he walked away? I don't know. I don't think he's faring well in the MMA, and he was a draw for the WWE. I think they would take him back if he wanted to come back. And here's one for you, and this was my own thought process, going back in my head, who would just make the crowd ecstatic, face or heel? Double J, Jeff Jarrett. He's not doing anything right now. He sold his stake of his global professional wrestling to, it's not TNA anymore, it's Impact Wrestling. And then he stepped away. Kind of a strange time to be stepping away, isn't it? So I could see Jeff Jarrett being one of those surprise entrances into the Royal Rumble. And then guys coming off of injury are always a big talk. Big Show's been in a lot of Rumbles, had a lot of eliminations, never won one. And, of course, the guy who wants to be the next big man in the WWE, the 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that, Big Cass. If he's healthy and his knee's good, he may be back for this Royal Rumble. So those are some things to watch in the Royal Rumble. Next week, we'll talk about the title matches for the tag belts and the Intercontinental in the United States and the Universal and the WWE Championship. We'll get into those matches next week. Let's talk a little bit about the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, this is news. This is exciting. I think this is going to actually take the show because it's never happened before. You can tell I'm ready for game day. Skol Vikings. So we've got Asuka, Ruby Riott of the Riott Squad, Liv Morgan of Absolution, Sarah Logan of the Riott Squad, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Bayley, Naomi, Natalya, Paige, huge question mark. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sonya Deville of the Riott Squad, Mandy Rose of Absolution, Mickie James, Tamina, Lana, Carmella, and Becky Lynch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're over halfway there. We need 13 more. I have some names that'll be interesting on your list. You got some NXT girls that are going to come up, I'm sure, and just join and then probably go back down to NXT, not make a lot of noise, but maybe make enough. Because you've got to fill the 30-woman roster. I think Asuka's got to be the hands-down favorite. She's never lost a match by pinfall or disqualification. Or I'm sorry, by pinfall or submission. She's still undefeated. So she's got to be a hands-on favorite. Nia Jax is like the Andre the Giant of the women's division. She's bigger and stronger than all the women. And the only person I could see head-to-head with her is Tamina. And actually, Sarah Logan, I think, would be a good She just seems to have that toughness, that strength. She's bigger, not in a bad way. She's just I think she's got what it takes to maybe be one of the ones to go head to head. But Asuka's just so talented. Entrance to surprise you. Well, first of all, let's talk about Paige's big question mark. So she was out for 17 months with a neck injury. She came back. She brought Absolution with her. They made some noise. She was in a match on a house show, and I think it was Sasha kicked her from behind, and I don't think she was ready, and she went down, and they thought it was a stinger. Her, you know, arm numbed and stuff for a moment, and they stopped the match, and the doctors checked her out and said, we think it's just a stinger. Well, after they did more research, the doctors may not clear her to wrestle again for fear of permanent neck injury. So this is not a rumor. This Bleacher Report reported this, and I went and read up on it. I'd heard about it before, and the first I'd heard about it today is the permanent damage possible was when I read the Bleacher report. So Paige may be done as a wrestler, but she may still be the manager of the Absolution, which brings up a great point. A women's tag title, women's tag belts. Maybe one set of belts for both brands to use, put a couple tag teams together in the women's division. I think that would add some excitement, some just all out, just expand it more. The women just keep developing and doing more. And I think that's the next step after this Royal Rumble. But I regress. Let's get back to, so with her stepping back, you're down to 16 because I don't think she's going to be in the Rumble. So you have names popping up all over the place. And when I was reading the Bleacher Report and reading WWE.com, and some of these names came up. And then, of course, a couple of these women threw their names in there themselves. They just had birthdays or they have birthdays coming up. One whose name keeps popping up for WWE, and she's really not doing much in MMA anymore, is Ronda Rousey. I don't think she's been training. I haven't heard about her training. But that'd be an interesting addition. Ronda Rousey into the women's, even if she doesn't win, goes in, makes a little noise, gets thrown out by a Nia Jax or even a Sarah Logan to help boost her up. But it'd be a really good. Sonya Deville is supposed to be the MMA fighter. That would be good too. Caitlyn's return. Caitlyn didn't last long. She came in, she was worshipped Mickey James and tried to follow in her footsteps and then turned heel and won a belt and cried a lot and disappeared. She was a good in the ring wrestler, so I think bringing her back would work. Some NXT women. I hope I pronounced her first name right. I think it's Kira Sane. She's really good in the ring. She's mentioned something about the Royal Rumble, Women's Royal Rumble could get insane. So, I mean, you could see her being one of those surprise entrances. I think Nikki Cross is really good in the ring, and she would just crazy in the Royal Rumble. She would be everywhere. And, of course, the NXT champion right now, Ember Moon, who's probably one of the best wrestlers in NXT right now, male or female. She's athletic. She's got good moves. She's got good submissions. And I think she'd make a good jump to the WWE. Now, let's talk a couple women legends. I originally thought maybe Beth Phoenix, and that still wouldn't be out of the question. I know she's doing the announcing on Twitter for the mixed match WWE pairings. So she's doing some announcing there. But she'd be interesting coming back. Beth Phoenix was another one who was good in the ring, big and strong, and just a good person to put in there. But I was thinking more of Michelle McCool, and she tweeted about it. She had said something to the effect of, "Hey, it's near my birthday. That'd be a great birthday present to come and win the first ever Women's Royal Rumble." And then the one everybody wants to hear, this is what everybody who's been a fan for years and years and years wants to hear. Trish Stratus mentioned on Twitter she just had a birthday. Wouldn't that be great to enter the first ever Women's Royal Rumble as a birthday present to herself? So just saying what I hear. And could Carmella cash in her Money in the Bank and be the Royal Rumble winner? That would be something different. She goes on from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, doesn't win the belt, but cashes in her money in the bank and wins it then. I mean, the odds are just completely in her favor at that point. So there's some interesting storylines to go with that. So that's my take right now on the Royal Rumble. We'll have more next week. Let's get into some NFL football. That's right. Eagles soared yesterday without Carson Wentz because defense wins championships. That's what I hear. We have a defense here in Minnesota. We call them, I don't think you can see my shirt, but we call them Purple Rain. I wear that shirt quite often. The Eagles have a defense, and Nick Foles looked really good in the second half. I can't figure that out, and he played well as a starter a few years ago. So maybe Nick Foles just needed some time to get some practice under his belt and get used to the way this offense is running. Because again, in that second half, boy, he was the difference in the game in the second half. It was a well-played game. There were no controversial calls. There was nothing to sit there as a Falcons fan or an Eagles fan and go, well, we won because, or we lost because. It was just a really well-played game on both sides. Patriots Titans. If you've read my blog, if you watched me tweet yesterday, you already know how I feel. It is the New England Patriots and the NFL and the Referees Association versus everybody else. And the Patriots don't need everybody else. They're a good team. I don't like them. They're a good team. They're always caught up in controversy, but they're a good team. You've got Spygate, you've got Deflategate, and now I'm going to dub this Refgate. Let's go back and talk about a couple of their issues. And we're not going to beat a dead horse with this. I just want to go over a few things. Pittsburgh. Jesse James. It was a catch. It was called a touchdown. Watching the replays was inconclusive. Therefore, if it's inconclusive, the play stands as calls. Touchdown. What did New York do? Somehow found something to reverse the call. He had the ball. His knee went down. His foot was down. Nobody touched him. He stretched across the goal line. Hand went under the ball. Never lost the ball. Touchdown. Let's be consistent. That's all I ask. Consistency. I think it was the same week. Thielen came down with the ball, and I complained about this, and somebody on our Vikes Fans Around the World site explained to me it is the rule. He didn't carry it all the way through the rollover. And I get that. So it wasn't a touchdown for Thielen, and I was good with it. But this guy caught the ball, crossed the plane, it's a touchdown. You cross the plane with control, it's a touchdown. Whatever happens after that doesn't matter. Let's go back to the Minnesota game when James Stewart jumped into the end zone and the ball got knocked away. It had already crossed the plane. It's a touchdown. I'm not complaining. That was a good call. I even said that was a touchdown. But if you want to be consistent, you either call that a fumble Vikings ball or you give Pittsburgh the touchdown. Pittsburgh Patriots. How about Austin Seferian-Jenkins? His catch for the Jets. Again, called a touchdown. Later ruled a fumble. Ball went out of bounds. Patriots ball. Changes the whole game. Pittsburgh lost on that play. The Jets would have been within 3 points. Maybe tied. I don't remember the score at that point. Changes the whole Jets game. They lose. Patriots win. Home field advantage. No one's going into New England to beat them. Hopefully Pittsburgh can. But really, why? Why do we need to give New England these extra advantages, refs? And now, the Titans game. Titans fans all over are pulling out their hair. Ghost pass interference. Decker did not, one, they were within 5 yards. Two, it wasn't a push off. It was more of a, he's here. Like, even Tony Romo was like, there was no penalty there. I call that a ghost pass interference. It took a first down, and instead of 3rd and 4, now it's 3rd and 14, took away a lot of momentum from the Titans, who had ran down, scored, let the Patriots come back and score, and then they're on their way to do it again. Then you've got the Patriots. 4th and 4, 4th and 3, inside their own 10. And their center bobs his head, Their tackle rocks back, and then the Titans' defensive line moves. So flag goes up, referees call it false start. Good call. Oh, wait. Let's review. And I don't know if New York called them. I don't know what happened. Suddenly the false start gets turned into an offsides, an encroachment call. First down, Patriots go down and score 14-7. That's two. Two bad calls. Now, let's go to a non-call. If you're going to make these calls and you're going to call that little push of pass interference, okay. You switched the penalty. You weren't sure who jumped first and you're going to put it on the Titan. Okay. That's two. Okay. Now, 3 strikes and you're out. How about Henry is going around the end? He tries to go up the middle on a 4th and 1. There's no hole. He bounces around the outside. Dude grabs his face mask right on camera. Like, saw it live. I tweeted it. Mike Greenberg even tweeted it like just before, just after me, like almost the exact same time, like face mask. Just throw the flag. Call the game evenly. Nothing. Nobody says nothing. Nothing. The only karma part was the missed field goal by Gostkowski. The really difficult field goal, as a New England reporter, an analyst put it. It wasn't tough. It's a Gostkowski. It's a 53-yarder. It's just a normal kick for that guy. Okay, he missed it. Anyways, I'm not here to bash the Patriots. I'm not here to defend the Titans or the Steelers or the Jets or anybody else. I'm here to say we really need something in place to make the refs responsible for their calls. Because if there is something funny going on, people are seeing it. And if there's not, people are assuming it. So to make them responsible, I think you give them a minimum pay. I'm not saying minimum wage, but hey, whatever. And after all the reviews on Monday, you pay them, or Tuesday, you can pay them a bonus based on their performance. It'll keep a little more integrity in the game, a little more integrity in the referees. I mean, if your livelihood or part of it therein, because these refs are not full-time refs. They have other jobs, and they do this as a second job. They probably love it, and I get it. But you're holding them accountable for their calls. Instead of coming on and having the association go, well, yeah, we made a bad call. When New York didn't catch it, and so we apologize. Okay, you apologize, but you have a fan base that's getting frustrated. And we're the ones that pay your bills. We're the ones that watch the games and buy the crap off the commercials and buy all the gear for the teams, which supports the NFL and our teams. So we're the wrong ones to make mad, first of all. And I know we're not always rational. I get it. I'm not always rational. I'll see a comment like, oh my God, that was horrible. That was holding. It's holding on every play. If it's drastic, they call it. If it's the guy tries to tug away and you're still holding him or you pull him to the ground, I get it. If it's just a hold and it gets you an extra 2 yards, it's no big deal. It happens all the time. Pass interference happens on a lot of plays. I'm digressing here. My point being is the referees need to be held accountable for what they're doing. Maybe the NFL needs to hire full-time refs and say, this is your job. This is what you get paid to do. Don't screw up. You'll be fined if you do. Because there should be a lot of fines on the Patriot games, okay? New York should be fined. The referees in the game should be fined. The cameramen should be fined. Just fine everybody, because this has got to stop. This cannot go on and have another controversial Patriots Super Bowl win, because it'll do 2 things. Make people who don't like the Patriots hate them even more and not respect how good they really are, how good Belichick and Brady are, because they're great, okay? And it's going to take away integrity of the NFL. People are going to stop watching. And if we stop watching, there's no money. And if there's no money, there's no teams. And all those people, their livelihood, they have to find a new way. And I know you're sitting there going, well, that's what they do. They chose it. I agree. But if it goes away, what are they going to do? Everybody can go work at Walmart? They just shut down a whole bunch of Sam's Clubs. Enough of that. Enough beating a dead horse. Somebody needs to look into this. It'll probably be at the end of the season, and we'll just dub it now Refgate. Okay? Steelers, Jags. Let's go back to that defense wins championships. If the Jags defense can shut down the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger and their running game and their passing game and their short passing game, they have to get through the Steelers defense. And I don't know if Bortles is good enough. If he plays flawless, makes no mistakes, no fumbles, no interceptions, and the running game is decent, The Jags can pull this off. 17-13. Pittsburgh's on a mission. All that garble I just talked about, Pittsburgh's on a mission. I think Pittsburgh's going to destroy. And when I say destroy, I'm talking 35-10, 35-17, 42. Pittsburgh's putting up points, and they're going to show the Jags that week 3 loss or week 4, whatever week they lost was a fluke. Pittsburgh wants New England, and they're not looking past Jacksonville. So Jacksonville, you got a young upcoming team. You may have a question mark at quarterback. In my opinion, you do. But other than that, you've got a really good-looking team, and you're going to be here for years to come. Pittsburgh wins. They go on and beat the Pats. We'll talk about that next week. Here we go. What I've been waiting to talk about all day long. I got a lot of mixed feelings. Skull, my Minnesota Vikings. Big game. 3:40 p.m. I'm probably going to miss the first half. Got some things, obligations I have to take care of. That's okay. We can still play football. I don't have to watch the whole thing. I'd love to. Let's talk Saints Vikings. Man, this is a rematch from week 1 when we took it to the Saints 29-19. Bradford tore him up. Bradford hasn't played since. We had a rookie running back who could have been a Rookie of the Year, Dalvin Cook candidate. He's hurt. He's out. Our offensive line's been holding it down. Case Keenum's looking good. Not a lot of mistakes. Makes a few here and there. We lost a rough game to the Panthers. That was probably our worst game all year, that and the Steeler game. But the Steeler game was the first game Keenum played. So I'm not taking that too much to heart because Keenum was still getting the starter roll down. And once he did, man, he didn't do nothing but win. Latavius Murray's healthy. Jerick McKinnon's healthy. Most of our line is healthy. So Keenum, he doesn't have playoff experience, but he makes minimal mistakes. We have a great running game and an O-line. Murray and McKinnon make a good 1-2 punch. We have a great 1-2 punch at wide receiver. And I'm telling you right now, the key to our game is Laquan Treadwell. The guy's got solid hands. He's strong as a tight end, and the dude can leap and get the ball. We've got to get him involved in this game so that we have to single cover our receivers, and that gives us an advantage. There's some great young cornerbacks on the Saints, but I don't think they're ready to cover our guys one-on-one. They need the safety help, or they need a double team on a Diggs or a Thielen. And if Treadwell can be the guy that steps up, that's going to cause some issues for them. On the other side of the ball, I might be biased. I don't think there's a better defense. And I'm going to tell you why. All 3 levels, we have all pros. You talking our defensive line. We rotate in the 4th guy. But we have Everson Griffin. We have Donnell Hunter. We have Linville Joseph. What a line. Just 3 out of the 4. And then we bring in Steven, or we bring in who's the young guy we just drafted this year. I mean, we've got players to be bringing in and out. And, of course, Greg Robinson plays everywhere on the line, and he gets brought. Brian Robinson, wow. Greg Robinson's defensive coordinator. Sorry, guys. My brain's just running so fast that I can't keep up with it. Brian Robinson plays everywhere on our defensive line and keeps it fresh. Now let's go linebacker. Middle linebacker, Eric Kendricks. I say he's got to be a top 10 in the league right now. And top 5 in the league, I would say Anthony Barr. I mean, this guy is big. He's fast. He's strong. He doesn't miss tackles very often. Everybody misses them here and there. Now let's go defensive backs. I'm going to start backwards. Trey Waynes, he's pretty good. Sendejo, he's pretty darn good. Harrison Smith, Harry the Hitman, probably the best and most underrated safety in football. Didn't make the Pro Bowl. And then, of course, I think right now the best shutdown cornerback in the NFL, and Xavier Rhodes. And if you hear a lot of the analysts and a lot of the announcers talking, they'll agree. He doesn't give up big plays, very few touchdowns, doesn't get burned deep. He might not have a lot of picks, but he knocks the ball down. He's great at swatting the ball. 6'1", big kid, 190, 215, somewhere in between there with his weight. He is fast. He can do everything. That being said, defense wins championships. Now, there's a little part of the Viking fan in me thinks about 1998 or 2009 or the 4 Super Bowls we were in, or every year we're in the playoffs when we should have beat Seattle and our kicker choked, who now plays for them, which is great, and that's fine. I don't want to say the doubt, but the little bit of fear to get my hopes up and say this is our year. It'll be our year when we make it to the Super Bowl. We'll get a home Super Bowl. We have to go to Philly if we win this week, and we're not an outdoor team. But we have to win this week to get to Philly. And you've got Drew Brees and Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, and their receivers aren't slouches. I mean, nothing's a given. And I'm rooting for my Vikings, and I'm going to watch the game, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm just going to go with it because this is our year. Defense wins championships. We need to stop the run game. We need to pressure Brees and just not let him be Drew Brees because he's one of the best. He's got playoff experience. He's won a Super Bowl. And I'm going to trust Mike Zimmer, and I'm going to trust our defense, and I'm going to trust Case Keenum, and I'm going to trust Adam Thielen, and I'm going to say the Vikings are going to pull this off on a close, low-scoring game, and we're going to win 21-17 with us downing the ball late in the game. We won't give it back to Drew Brees, and that's the key right there to the Minnesota Vikings moving on to Philly. With all that said, one small last thing, everybody's worried and panicking and wondering what's going to go on. Are we going to lose Shermer? If we lose Shermer, is Case Keenum going with them? What about Bridgewater? How come we activated Sam Bradford? I'm going to tell you this. The Vikings know what they're doing. We can all talk all we want, and we can have fan favorites. And I know everybody hates Sam Bradford. I don't. I think Sam Bradford's a damn good quarterback. I think he could be a top 10 quarterback if he could stay healthy, but he's got these knee problems. And he can't stay healthy. And as my dad always said, if dog hadn't stopped to take a crap, he would have caught the rabbit. That being said, we don't know what we have in Bridgewater. Bridgewater could end up like Culpepper, and you take away his running game, and he's not going to be the same. We don't know what we have in Bradford. We know what we have in Keenum. If Shermer's probably not going to get the Detroit job, but he could get the Arizona job, and Arizona needs a quarterback. And Keenum will probably go with Shermer unless we throw a whole bunch of money on the table. And even then, he might go with Shermer because that was his offensive coordinator, and it's the best year he's ever had. But know this. Offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators turned NFL coaches, their teams seem to play a lot different, don't they? Zim's lucky because he still controls his defense and probably does a lot through his coordinator. And he's got a great offensive coordinator in Shermer. That being said, Shermer's going to have to get great assistants to surround him to keep Keenum where he's at. Whereas if we can just promote quarterback's coach who's used to what they're doing and knows how Keenum can play, we can sign Keenum and maybe sign Bridgewater or Bradford and let them duke it out. So that being said, let's worry more about that when our season's over, and hopefully that won't be today. My name is the Buckster, and this is The Buck Stops Here. Skol Vikings. Let's beat the Saints. Skol Vikings. Let's not be the Aints. Sorry, I tweaked it a little bit, guys. Onward to the next round of the playoffs. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Comment, like, and thank you for watching.